weekend racing. It's time to recap it. And who better to do it than Michael and Magic? Two bros/pros who cover the highs and lows of racing around the globe on every one of their shows. Real fans look forward to these guys and their last thoughts, cause they know they're not talking out of their royal ascot. What they say makes sense. So ladies and gents, sit back and relax as Blinkers Off presents The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is The Magic Mike Show, episode 338. Mr. Somich.
Huzzah!
We're back. We're going back to Gulfstream, man. We didn't have enough fun with the craziness of that $8,500 pick four from Saturday. Hey, let's go ahead and take another shot at Wednesday's pool. How you doing today?
I'm doing okay, man. I'm doing okay. It was interesting football watching last night. We'll talk about that in a few minutes here. It's one of my best things I saw, and we'll talk about why. That pick four sequence. I mean, the turf race that we handicapped on there, the tropical turf, man, that was an interesting one because I am shocked Flying Scotsman didn't get the lead, and they went 23 and change, 46 and change, which is actually kind of slow for graded stakes going 1 mile over the Gulfstream Park turf course. So that was one of those where you see him rating, you're like, well, that's wrong. That horse isn't winning now.
Yeah, well, okay, so he blew the brake. He was slow out of the gate, and I don't know why the jockey kind of gave him a little bit of a push, but then he didn't keep going. I was like, you need to descend, especially if you break poorly, you need to quarter horse that son of a gun out of there to have any shot of winning. So ironically, the horse that won and blew up our pick four ticket of the first leg got the exact trip that we both thought Flying Scotsman did, and not only that, the trainer thought that. In the post-race comments, he's like, we thought Flying Scotsman was going to go, but he broke kind of slow, so we just kind of went, all right.
Yeah, that's the crazy part about this. And we talked about how we thought that they would let Flying Scotsman go because he was the one horse that absolutely had to get the lead. And it sounds like they were prepared to do that. And for some reason, Lannery split the two foes in the 7 and the 2 and just didn't commit to the send, which was shocking to me. I don't. It's one thing when a horse is, 1-5 and clearly the best horse in the field, and you have to change your tactics a little bit mid-race. It's another thing when you are 15-1 morning line, get bet down to 7-1, probably should have been more like 15-1. You're not the best horse. You need to kind of do what you're good at and not try and change your strategy there mid-race. It's a head scratcher from Lannery.
I maybe something wasn't, he didn't feel it with the horse or whenever he was gunning. I know there was a Velasquez horse over the weekend, I bet at Santa Anita, that Velasquez was pumping and the horse just did not go, and then Pratt ended up winning because Pratt did the same thing that Le Peru did here. He looked over, he's like, you're not going? All right, I'll take it, and then ends up winning. So sometimes, listen, we can sit here and blame the jockey. Jockeys are like, there's nothing there. What do you want me to do? I'm stepping on the gas and it's on E. But it was if you connected on that, congratulations. I know that the Cassie horse in the finale that I liked, apparently some people really loved. The younger brother of Tap It to Win, and then another sibling that's won some stakes races. So the horse got the win, but we're gonna try and do better than 2 for 4 on today's show.
Man. That was one of those when you saw the board, you're like, oh, this 5 is live. Like if retroactively, I would have loved to include that horse because when you see a 15-1 morning and Cassie and a Tappet horse and that horse gets bet down to 4-1, I think it was, you're like, yep, that horse going real well. Like you can kind of tell just by looking at the board in those spots.
I had turned it off after the second leg because I was like, I clearly did not see this well. I'm just going to focus on Santa Anita. So I didn't see it happen, but I had a few people message me and say that. So I went back and watched. And yeah, horse ran pretty well. Not that I'd like to say, like, I knew it. I was like 6 deep that race. I didn't exactly single the horse.
It was interesting, too. We went wire to wire, and the gate scratch of the 6, I think, made a big difference for everybody in that race because that was a Jaramillo horse, Jaramillo horse that you thought was going to go out. I agree with you. Probably would have made the lead. Paco, for some reason, didn't send the 2. Like, wild that he broke well and didn't send the 2 there. Anyway, the 6 coming out of that race really helped the 5, I think.
Before we get into it, Mike, what is the best thing? I know you had a couple of things. Can I just say I have one best thing, and mine is watching Twitter last night during one of the best things that you're going to talk about. I didn't watch the game. I just watched Twitter, and it was great. Yeah,
the betting sports betting best thing I saw because it is absolutely incredible what happened last night in two different areas. So first off, this football game. The Sunday night game, if you didn't know, both teams could essentially take knees. And if they both take knees the whole game and tie, they both make the playoffs. If either loses, they're out. So there's a bunch of these parlays that got put in by a bunch of people playing every under, tie first half, tie game, $50 win $75,000, all the crazy stuff. But there's over $1 million liability to the tie because the tie was 12-1 in a lot of places. So there's all these people betting this 12-1 prop bet. And then you come down to the last part of the game, and it really should have hit. I mean, the game should have ended in a tie, but you have just moronic timeout from Staley, the coach of the Chargers. If you're going to use one, you use two, just to show them you're not going to use any more. Say, hey, I'm draining my timeouts. Just go ahead, end the game. And then you have an even dumber timeout from the Raiders, who literally could just let the clock run out and make the playoffs. Instead, they want to kick a field goal, which, by the way, could have gotten blocked and run back. Like, there are ways they lose that football game if they snap the ball again. There is no way you miss the playoffs if you don't call that timeout and don't snap the football again. It's just over and you're in. So it's an absolutely epic ending. But because they decided to call this timeout and then kick this field goal, millions of dollars flips hands. So crazy there. Number 2, last night, I don't know if you saw this. The Warriors, Klay Thompson returned. And Draymond Green decided he wanted to be on the floor for the return. So they let the opposing team know that that he was going to take the tip, foul immediately, and then leave the game and not return. Well, it gets tweeted out at 7:32, I believe it is, or 8:32, one of the two. All of these sportsbook took $1 million worth of bets on Draymond Green's unders. And since he started, they're all live. And so there's this huge controversy now of whether or not they should be paid out because it was a planned event. But he has a foul. So 7 seconds in, he fouled someone. So he has a stat line. He played in the game. He started the game. It checks all the boxes for the rules. And they are literally millions of dollars in the hole if they pay all these out. 2 of the 3 American sportsbooks have paid him out already. DraftKings has not paid him out yet. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with these prop bets too, because it's wild that this early in, and of course, yesterday's the first day for New York to bet as well. It's wild this early into like the U.S. gambling market. You have these massive decisions that are flipping one way or the other.
This is crazy. I'm reading about this right now. Yeah, the FanDuel was the first one to hear about it, and DraftKings soon after. But wow, this is incredible.
Millions of dollars. They're saying it could be up to 8 figures worth of liability because people are betting, $1,000 parlays that pay $150,000 because they're playing the alt under. So under a half rebound, under a half point, under a half assist on Draymond Green, all at massive plus numbers parlayed together in the same game. It's just like, it's crazy some of the tickets you can see out there.
This is great. There's a really great article I'm looking at. Go to actionnetwork.com or just Google Draymond Green and Action Network. It'll pop up. That's a great story explaining it. That's really crazy. I'm glad you brought that up. Wow. I love when crazy stuff like that.
The weird sports betting shit that's happening now because it's just become legal and what people are like, how in-depth people get into it. I don't think people realize like people are hawking these sites constantly to try and find one bad line to bet, and that's all they do. That's their job. That's their living.
Right.
And so you have situations like this Draymond Green thing where the books just, I don't think they realize all the places that they have liabilities and people are just waiting to crush them.
I was trying to get my Detroit Lions jersey updated. It's 72. I was going to try and put this number on it since we got the number 2 draft pick. After beating the Green Bay Packers, that was pretty cool. I should have said that was the best thing. I didn't watch it, but anytime we beat Aaron Rodgers, even if it's meaningless, or in this case, I guess not meaningless, it hurt us a little bit, but yeah. We weren't going to get number 1. That's fine.
Well, at least there's not like a stud quarterback here. Like this is
right.
One of those draft classes where you're kind of like, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, when I text you guys, who's in the running? You're like, nobody really that great. I was like, okay, great. This is, I'm real excited. Yay. I am actually excited to talk about Gulfstream. We're going to be looking at the Wednesday late pick 4 ticket sequence. Give out our tickets for the show. Let's get into it, Mike. Riders up. I did 7 videos with Aaron Halterman that'll be on the YouTube channel. So go to youtube.com/racingdudes later and check that out. But I had to take a break and just kind of massage my mouth because it's just 45 straight minutes of talking, which is different than this. That is very scripted and very structured. This, it's all loosey-goosey and kind of wild. So forgive me for stumbling over things, but we'll kick off the late pick 4 sequence at Gulfstream Park on Wednesday, January 12th, race 7, a 6-furlong dirt sprint for 7 3-year-old males at the 35K starter allowance optional claimer level. Favoritism is on number 3, Frosted Armor at 5-2, dropping back in for a tag. You have Yes, I'm a Beast on the rail at 3-1, number 4, Adventure Seeker at 4-1. Both multiple winners in this field. Mike, both have 3 wins, actually, to their name so far. Who's your top pick in this race?
This is one of those interesting spots. Generally in these races, and I'm going to look for horses that have run against better. Because a lot of times you have horses that are coming out of like $75,000 optional allowances, things like that. You have a couple horses or one horse that's coming out of that was in a stakes race earlier. But this time I'm not going to do that. I mean, I look at the horses that have more experience, specifically the 6, the 4, and the 1, who both run against better, or all run against better. I don't really like any of them. I ended up on the 2 horse, the horse that I generally wouldn't pick. First time against winners, just won a maiden special weight. But I love the fact, I'm not sure if Irad will actually ride this horse because he was injured on Saturday. So I'm not sure if he's going to be able to ride here on Wednesday or not. But I love the fact that he at least took them out because he does not ride for David Fox very often. Fox, 21% trainer, 17% right now at Gulfstream. He's been doing well. This would only be the 3rd ride that you would see from Irad on a Fox horse. Now, what's interesting about this is Jaramillo is generally his go-to rider, and he does not take the ride here, right? He's on the 4 horse who he's ridden every step of the way. He gets Irad to take this mount, and note that David Fox owns part of this horse. So I think it's awfully interesting that you have the trainer here who doesn't get Irad up very often, who then gets Irad, and it's on a horse he owns. By the way, that race was pretty darn good. And this is the one horse in this race who has, in my mind, a logical improvement spot here. It's second start, so you can take a huge step forward. I like the 9-2 price. I like the fact that we have tactical speed. First time Lasix, just like everyone else in this group. But I like the fact that the horse was able to make up ground against everyone else last time out. I also love the fact we get 31% when the one last start here with Fox as well. So to me, the 9-2 price on the 2 horse was the way to go.
Boy, I was kind of on the fence with the 2. You almost might have pushed me over the limit. You made all good points, and by the way, as far as I can tell, Irad is still slated to ride beginning Wednesday. So it seems like that Sornice is no more. I didn't use the 2 here, but you make great points for it, and really, unlike everyone else, this horse hasn't disappointed yet. Just 1 start, 1 win, 0 disappointments. Good so far. My top pick is one of the ones that you said you don't like. I'm going to use the 4 Adventure Seeker, and a big reason is you talked about it. Michel Jaramillo has been with this horse every step of the way as he's about to make his 7th start. Jaramillo is also riding through the claim. If you've listened to the show, you know that's a huge angle for me when a good rider like this continues to ride through the claim. This horse has won 3 of his last 4 starts. I mentioned that he has the 3 wins, but if you forget those first 2, including the second one was actually against State Bred, that's his only really bad race on his form. All these times when he's run for a tag, he's been pretty good. He's 3 for 5 at the distance. He's got that going for him. He did lose to Yes, I'm a Beast, who I didn't use, but that was 3 back, and a big change happened there. If you look on the form, you see between 120 and B, there's an F added. The F, if you don't know, means front wraps, and what that is when a horse has some tendon issues, they need to give a little support, some sore shins maybe, the front wraps are put on to give that support. We put the front wraps on, suddenly we're a superstar. Barry Croft claims the horse. He's 0 for 5. The horse is first off the claim, but the fact that Jaramillo sees fit to keep riding through for the barn, I'm going to go ahead and ride through. There's more on this, but I will save it in case you try and push back, but I did like Adventure Seeker on top.
Yeah, I'm going to push back. And the problem is the Barry Croft part of this. Like, yes, the front wraps clearly helps the horse. Barry Croft is a 3% trainer. Catherine O'Neill,
Kathleen O'Connell.
Yeah. Wrong Irish name there. Catherine O'Connell is 18%. So you're getting a massive, massive downgrade here. And from a barn perspective, I just can't take 4-1 on a barn that is literally 3 for 57. That's a big problem for me. And it's so combining the price with the claim is what really hurt for me. Cindy, I think this is a shout out for North Dakota State, who won the FCS championship. Congratulations, Bryson. And Cindy, also, you got to DM me your address too. You won a T-shirt. I think it was 2 weeks back. So hit me up, or 2 episodes back. So shoot me a DM with your address. I'll get that out for you.
Sorry, I didn't know if there was more there. I was looking for, she said ride the bison. I thought maybe there's a horse with bison in the name. I was looking through, and I thought maybe there was a segue, and then there wasn't. Well, I'll just keep going. Another horse that you said you didn't like that I used is the 6, One More Score, who's 10-1 in here. This is going to be a fun show. This horse, here's what I like about this, Mike. This horse, 7 career starts. His race for a tag 1 time against 50K level, won by 14 lengths. Tyler Gaffalione rides this horse last time out against Straight Allowance Company, Florida Breds. Horse is speed and quick, gets its ass beat. Why would Gaffalione ride this horse back if it was any good? Unless it was any good. So I think the fact that Gaffalione is riding, I'm going to go ahead and use there. I really like that angle for it. We're getting first-time Lasix. We are cutting back slightly in distance there, but really the big angle, it was Gaffalione riding, and he's 23% with Fernando Abreu at Gulfstream Park.
Yeah, I mean, my problem with this horse, it needs the lead. and I don't think it gets the lead. And in that one race that you referenced where it won by 13, it was 80 cents on the dollar favorite, and it's not going to be anywhere near that good here. So clearly the dominant horse in that race. And this is one of those need the lead horses. And I think the problem for your 6 is the 4, to be honest with you. I think Adventure Seeker is the horse that's going to make the lead here, and that's going to make it a long day for one more score. To be fair, though, I did go too deep here, and I used my 2 must-uses on the ticket. My next pick were the 4 and the 6 in here. I don't love anyone else. I think the 1 is a pretty easy fade. The 7 for me was kind of on the fence a little bit, but I didn't end up using him there. I went 2 and 3 here. So Frosted Armor is the other horse that I'm going to use. It's a 5-2 morning line choice. I like the race 2 back. I thought that was a nice race to be able to win against a 10-horse field and 50K maiden claimer. It's one of the higher levels if you look at where these horses broke their maiden at. I mean, a lot of them are in the maiden claimer level. It's one of the reasons why I don't mind taking the 2-horse first time out against winners, because a lot of these had to face maiden claimers to be able to break their maiden. In fact, the only one who didn't was the 7 Icy Storm. So, and that was with a bad buyer at Indiana. So, to me, this field just isn't that great. If you look at that race 2 back, Frosted Armor ran, it really towers over this field for the most part. And again, I like the fact that the horse was able to get the job done from off the pace, because I do think you're going to see the 1 horse is going to try and send. The 4 horse is going to go. The 5 horse has got speed and Paco. The 6 horse is going to go. I think you're going to see him stack up up front. I think the 2 and the 3 are both going to trip out here.
3 was the last horse I used here, and I was curious. I almost didn't, but I wanted to see how the rest of my ticket went, how chalky it went, and so it didn't get too chalky, so I did use. This horse is also, on top of everything great that you mentioned, is a half-brother to a 4-time Grade 3 winner named Tommy Macho. 3 of those 4 Grade 3 wins were 8 furlongs at Gulfstream Park on the dirt. So if you like that angle, this horse's bloodline loves Gulfstream Park. I've been a little worried that 69 buyer 2 back is going to make him overbet, but if he can get back to that, because he's not a need the lead type like the other horses I'm using in here are, or seem to be, I think this horse is going to get a great position. And it makes me feel better that you said, I haven't looked at your ticket yet, you said we haven't agreed on a whole lot, so that you went with that one when I was kind of iffy about it makes me feel better about it.
Yeah, we do have some disagreements later. It's going to be fun. I'm not shocked. I expected you to use the 4. I'm surprised you used the 6 here.
We'll move on to the second leg of the late pick 4 sequence at Gulfstream Park on Wednesday, January 12th. Race 8. It's a 1-turn dirt mile for 8 older males at the 40K starter allowance level. Favoritism is on number 2, Tis Rye Time at 8-5. He drew inside of all the other short price favorites who are out in 6, 7, and 8. This is an Irad Ortiz Jr. riding for Saffie Joseph. The horse is favored at 8-5 at Gulfstream Park. So what are the odds that I probably singled him? Now, you know I didn't because you cheated and you saw my ticket, but this feels like a horse I almost singled him. I didn't, but I almost did.
It does feel like a singleable horse for you. And I actually, after going through these first 2 races, I was planning on playing just a single $2 ticket, but I don't like the favorites in the next, and we'll get to that in a second. I did use the 2 on top here. I think Tis Rye Time is the best horse. I have some seconditis worries for Tis Rye Time, who's been second in this last 3 starts, 4 seconds and 10 starts this year. Hasn't won a race in 2020 or 2021. Generally not great stats for a favorite. Not what you're really looking for, especially when it's not like, non-winners are 1 in a year or something. So have some concerns about Tis Rye Time running second in this race. There's not a ton of pace in here either, and he's most likely going to be coming from a little bit off it. But I do think Tis Rye Time is the best horse. The other must-use for me was the 8 Critical Threat, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this horse either because it's really the other logical horse in my mind. Coming out of 6.5 furlong races, you'd assume this is going to be a pretty forwardly placed horse in a race without a ton of speed. I actually expect the 8 to sit just outside of the 1 and get a really nice trip here. If the mile distance is good, and it should be with a son of Mashawish out of a Spitestown mare, the distance shouldn't be an issue here to get that extra, furlong and a half. And he's been closing in the last 2 efforts as well. So the 2 and the 8 are the 2 logical horses. I went 3 deep because I do like a price here. And that's kind of why I flew through those 2. I'll let you try and explain why you like a 20-1 shot now. Looking forward to this.
Because I disagree on who's setting the pace. I think it's the real horse, Menelik. I think this horse has 1 shot in hell of winning this race, and that's to go. If you look at the race 4 back when he broke his maiden over the course going 7 furlongs, he was able to put in faster fractions than what he did 2 back over this configuration. He got off with it a little bit easier 2 back, but it was at the $35,000 claiming level. Vasquez sent. Last time out, goes to a higher class, and Vasquez doesn't send, tries to rate and see if the horse can hold on. Well, clearly the horse didn't. So if Vasquez can get this horse out cleanly, which doesn't have a history of breaking poorly, and I love to bet horses who break poorly, this horse doesn't have that. If he can break cleanly from the rail, His only chance is to go, but he also has the highest time form U.S. early pace figure. He's the only one in the triple digits there. So time form agrees that he should be trying to get to the lead as well. Vasquez, by the way, 3 for 9 for Happy Alter, who's 0 for 5 so far to start the meet, but was 15% in 2021. So it's not as bad as percentage as my top 2 picks in the last race.
Well, and he also, he's got the win one, then the terrible race, win one, terrible race, little rotation going.
The Casa Creed angle. I love it. Let's do it.
And a 34-1 workout just to blow one out right before the race as well, that 3 furlong work that you love. So I understand why you're using him. I do think he makes the lead. I just think that he's a little outclassed by this group. He's taking a step up, and I think there's some decent horses in here. You know what? I'm going to take a shot at a price as well. I'm going to go with the 5 Gump at a little bit of a price here at 15-1. Carlos David gets this horse into his barn. It's interesting. This horse has actually switched barns 4 times, but never ownership groups. You don't see that all that often, especially when it's only run in Florida. So a little interesting nugget there. Look, I think that I think this horse is going to be able to sit a very good trip. I'm expecting probably 3rd, 4th, somewhere right in that range. And there's enough races here. Like if you go back to the mile races that we saw back in last May, the horse actually ran really well. Was running low 80 buyers, includes a 90 buyer going the 1-turn mile. I think this 1-turn mile is kind of what the horse wants. This is now going to be the 3rd in the Carlos David barn. And you can draw a line through that last one. If you watch that race back, the horse stumbled really bad at the break. It was just over. That's why he was so far off the pace. I think you're getting a 15-1 price because of how bad that race was. I don't think that race was like anything that you can really take anything from. You just kind of have to draw a line through it and move along. So for me, I think the 5 has back races you can point to. And I like the fact that we get 3rd time Carlos David barn here. Alvarado up. Let's take a shot at 15-1.
You're getting 15-1 because this horse hasn't won since the 2-horse won. Like you talked about how the 2-horse has only one win. It came 2019. He's won since the 5 horses won. Like that is bad. I mean, you're getting 15-1, so I'm not going to knock it. You're getting a price on him, but boy, these are some not good horses. They do not like to win.
At least he had a year layoff. Like
That's true.
He took a full year off, so let's give him a little bit of slack there, right?
Well, the 2-horse actually almost did take a year off as well, from February 2020 to January 31st, 2021. Anyways, he was also with a trainer that's probably not going to win as often as Safi.
Yeah, that's also very true.
Yeah, that's also true. Listen, we both like the 2 as the favorite there. Very logical play. So if you're thinking about going deeper in other legs, hey, maybe this is a leg that you end up singling. Let's move on to the penultimate leg of the late pick 4. At Gulfstream on Wednesday, January 12th, we've got race 9 heading to the Tapeta for a 5.5 furlong sprint. 8 3-year-old Florida-bred fillies at the first allowance level. Favoritism on number 5, Chocoloso, 5-2. Taking a class drop, cutting back from routing. Larry Ravelli actually has 2 in here. He also has the number 7, Naughty Naughty, at 9-2. I only used one of them. I know it's a cardinal sin. Where'd you go on top?
Well, let me tell you, I chucked both Ravellis out.
There you go.
Arlington form has not been great. And closing from way off the pace, going 5 furlongs on the synthetic has not been great. That pretty much knocks out both of those horses to me, both the Ravelli horses. So I went with a price on top. I went to the inside horse, Mount Sinai. We're getting 8-1. We're getting Saya as a board. This is an interesting one. So, like, one of the things I talked about is specifically synthetic win percentage and how important that is for trainers at Gulfstream. Much like when we were doing a turf sprint, when it's a specialty type race, I'm interested in trainers who have high percentages at that specialty, right? So turf sprinting, I think, is a great example of. I always look at what was specifically the trainer's turf sprint percentage. Well, this is one where you're going from Zappa, who doesn't have a huge number because it's newer in Florida, and that's where he's generally based, to Steve Kalleward, who is 30% on synthetic so far, and he claims this horse. For 12.5 out of a claimer, moves it up to $16,000 on maiden claimer. The horse airs the field. And the winner, then there's a next out winner who runs second in that race. And now we're moving up into a protected level, state bred. The last one was open. You get Sayas to ride back. You're getting 8-1. To me, it's all systems go on the 1-horse Mount Sinai, who actually should get a very, very good trip here. I want that horse that is just going to be able to stalk and pounce. That's exactly what we're getting with the 1-horse Mount Sinai.
I think it's telling that that horse between the different barns has had a speed jockey in either Saez or Jaramillo aboard. I went back and forth on using her. I didn't. I think she's got the great speed. I just wasn't sure class level wise what she beat, because I know that Brody's Causeway won next out, but won at that same level maiden 16 open, whereas we're moving up a little bit. So I think to me, it's just a little bit too much of a class test, but this is a horse that I think could definitely bite me in the ass. I'm looking at our tickets now. We agreed on one horse. Let's talk about it. The 8. Let's go all the way outside. Oh boy, how do you want to say that name? Do you want to take a shot at it?
Pomia?
Poima.
Poima.
Anyway, Poima actually happens to be my top pick at 6-1 here. She showed last time out. If she can just get a fast track and a clean break, she's going to be gone. Hopefully, there is a lot of speed in this race, so I don't know that she's going to get the same kind of runaway trip that she did last out. But if you look at how she debuts on the synthetic, so Larry Bates thought that that's where she should go. I'm a little nervous. Larry Bates is 0 for 8 on synthetic, and you mentioned on a previous show that you noticed a trend at Gulfstream that the synthetic horses tended to be better. Or the one more often were from barns that had higher percentages. Not a flat rule, but that was something you were looking at. I think first time Lasix is going to be good for her. I think she's faster than the 3, so I think she's at least going to be sitting on the outside and pressing whoever is leading if it's not her. And I like that she broke her maiden against straight maidens. She didn't face Florida breds to do it. They just went on the dirt against straight maidens, and she got the job done. So all of that for me, that's why she's my top pick, and I think at 6-1, I'm getting a really nice price.
Yeah, this is actually my other must-use horse. I disagree with it. There's a ton of speed in here. I think this is the speed of the speed. And there are two other horses that went wire to wire. The 7 horse did it going 23:47, right? That's not that fast. We're going to go faster than that up on the outside. And then if you go to the 3 horse, who's your other speed horse, 22 and 2, 46 and 1. I'm just not sure that either of them are going to be as fast. And so I think Poima is the horse that's going to be out there to catch. And I wouldn't be shocked if he's able to take it wire to wire. I'd be more concerned with David's Rose than anyone, but Paco has been so lackadaisical on getting these horses to the front on both the synthetic and the turf. Usually he's wildly aggressive, and he just has been, I'm going to rate in both these spots. And the other thing that I think that's really important with Poima that I want to make sure we mention, we talked about how early on in the synthetic course, it was impossible to go wire to wire. Mm-hmm. The first race for this horse was on the synthetic at Gulfstream. Horse tried to wire the field and just quit late. This course is much more catered now for someone to go wire to wire, especially at this 5.5 furlong distance. So you were against a track bias when you ran that first race on the synthetic, and now that track is evened out. I don't think there's much of a bias anymore on the synthetic. And if that bias is gone, you could expect a nice improvement here from the 8 and should be able to hold a little bit better than that first time over the synth.
That was the last note that I had on the horse. The course was dead for speed back then, is much fairer now. Who are you going with else? Or where else are you going in this race? Let me rephrase.
I am going to use David's Rose. This one's kind of was on the fence for me, but I'm going to use Paco here in this spot. I think that if he takes a step forward, this horse is dangerous. You're going to need to see some nice numbers. But I like the fact that we tried turf right off the break there in the $35,000 maiden claimer level, and then tried a turf stakes, which was eventually reined off. Horses that they're trying to get onto the turf generally have a little bit better synthetic performance. So I'm going to take a shot with the 3 David's Rose. And then I like the horse right to the inside. Arrow Shape at 10-1 is going to be my other use here. This one to me is just really interesting. You have a nice win to break your maiden, and then you jump up to the $75,000 level. They drop back down and put this horse on synth to put it in a $35,000 claimer, and the horse runs really, really well. It didn't break well, had to swing 4 wide, but it was driving at the end. The extra half furlong might have won the race. Now we're going to 5.5. We're going back on synthetic for the second time, third off the layoff. If we can take another step forward, this horse's numbers fit. I mean, he actually has the highest last out buyer and the second highest buyer overall in the entire field. And we're getting 10-1 right now. So I'm going to take a little bit of a shot there with the 2 Arrow Shape as well.
No shame in taking that horse. I did give a closer look at her. You're hoping for a little bit of an inside bias on the synth course there, using horses 1, 2, 3, and then 8 all the way on the outside in case the inside doesn't work.
I'm just going with the best horse bias.
Nice response. I'm going to use number 6, Fire and Spice, as my second start. This is a horse that she's only run once, but again, hasn't disappointed. She wins over this course in distance in the maiden optional claiming spot. Because she's Florida bred, was not eligible for a tag, so they love her enough that they have not risked her for a tag yet. You were saying that, I can already tell why you don't like her, because you think that the speed is going to be holding for this sprint. I'm playing this in case there is a bunch of speed or stuff collapses. She also, by the way, shouldn't be as far back as she was in her debut. She hit the gate, was all over the place at the start. If she can get out cleanly, and I like that she's only going to have 2 horses to her outside, I think she'll sit closer And if or when there's a pace collapse, I think she's going to be right there to jump. I like that Chris Davis has been working her on turf to get her ready for that synth race and then brings her right back. That was just on December 23rd. Wheeling her back pretty quick, but Chris Davis, 16% overall last year, so he's not a dummy. He knows what he's doing. Am I correct about why you did not use the 6?
Yeah, I mean, it was a slow race. I mean, everything was just kind of slow about it. That was my main reason for not using it. I'm just not a huge Chris Davis fan either. I mean, it's like, but I everything's going to need to go right for that horse to be able to win. And Fire and Spice could get the job done. I mean, it was one of the ones that I looked at. I was kind of between the 3 and the 6 for which direction to go. Ended up with the 3. So I get why you used it. It just seems slow.
Last one I did use the favorite Chocoloso because I mentioned I used one of the 2 Ravelli horses. I think this is the better of the 2. Irad's taking them out, which is a big key for me. Broke the maiden not just on synthetic, but in a stakes race, which caught my attention. She was 36-1 that day, so a lot of people were surprised, but it was a stakes with 8 other horses in it. I don't love that this is by far the lowest odds she's ever going to be when she was 6-1 last out and got her ass kicked. But like I said, I thought that there was a lot of speed. I think I'm going to want a horse coming from off, and I'm getting Irad aboard, and that was a big key to me. But again, if you or Mike are looking at this thinking speed's going to hold, I clearly see why you're not going to use the 5.
Well, not just that. This horse seems slow early to me. I mean, that was my biggest issue here is that I think this horse could be 10 lengths back, and it's one thing that I think speed's going to hold. It's another if you're dead closing on this course right now, and I just. Being a dead closer going 5.5, you haven't seen anyone doing that right now. And that's what I think you're going to see from a trip on the 5. And yeah, Irad might get the horse a little more forwardly placed. We know that he is an aggressive rider, and he was riding aggressively when he was healthy at Gulfstream. But, man, this horse is going to get way over bet. I mean, that's my other issue. 5-2 is a pipe dream. You're going to end up with 6-5, 7-5 on this 5 horse. And if I'm going to use a 6-5 or 7-5, I'm going 4 deep, and I don't really like the horse. To me, it's just one that I can't include.
Makes perfect sense. Move on to the 4th leg here. The last leg at Gulfstream Park for Wednesday's late pick 4 sequence. This is a race 10, puts us on the turf, mile-long route for older maiden fillies and mares. The Florida breds run protected. Everybody else, they're in for a $40,000 tag. Your favorite is the 9 horse, My Sunny Valentine, owned and bred by Dennis Drazen, CEO of Monmouth Park. I wonder if she'll race with a whip with Luis Saez. Nearly got the job done last out at Aqueduct, but outside draw, probably not going to do her any favors here. So where'd you go on top?
I went with a 9 on top. This is clearly the best horse in the field. I think the 9 is deserving as a 9-5 favorite. So I'm not going to try and fade the horse, but the draw scares me a little bit. The fact that this horse, ran good enough a couple times to be in contention and just didn't pass anyone scares me a little bit. The fact that, some of these races, they're not as good as they actually look on paper. Those, you got 2 fourths and 2 maiden special weights, but lost by 14 and 16. So there's enough here that has me concerned about the 9 horse. Although I do think you're going to get a pretty good trip. There's quite a bit of speed in this spot. You could end up with 4 or 5 different horses on the lead, and the 9 might sit right behind those. And obviously Saez is good at working out a trip. I'm not too worried about him being able to tuck the 9 in with a bunch of speed to his inside. I thought the 2 horse was really interesting. That's going to be my other must use here at 15-1. Leparoux takes them out for Spendthrift Farms. This is one of those spots where you look at that last race, and I'm just going to kind of draw a line through it. Okay, it was a $50,000 maiden special weight, so a higher level. We're dropping down now. The horse was 28-1. It was the first time off a longer layoff. I like this horse second out. I think you're going to get a much better trip. I mentioned I think there's a ton of speed. This 2 horse is probably going to sit right behind that first block and be able to be on the inside on both of these turns. And you go back and you look at that Saratoga race. I mean, this horse debuts at Saratoga, is 32-1, runs decent. I mean, really for the level. I mean, it's $100,000 maiden special weight at Saratoga, ends up 4th, comes back in a $100,000 2-turn race, runs 3rd behind Baby Blythe, Palamos, good horses. Faces Lady Valentine, Federalist Papers next time out at Saratoga. Like, those horses would tower over this field, dominate them. I like the fact we're getting 15-1. I like the fact we're second off. And this horse has the biggest buyers in the field. If we can run back to some of those Saratoga races, I think the 2 horse is a logical winner at a price.
I kept looking at the 2 trying to figure out why a horse with the best buyers in this field, all against maidens, now taking a class drop, is 10-1, 15-1, I'm sorry. And then you've got My Sunny Valentine is 9-5, and I'm like, where's the disconnect here? I don't understand. I guess the last 2 races fell off, but also this horse is, I think the mile 3/16, mile 1/8. This horse is cutting back. That's too far for her to be running.
Yeah, I'm surprised the gap is that big, and my guess is that 15-1 is not what we will actually get here. When they break from the gate, I'm expecting we're going to get closer to 5 or 6-1.
From what I can tell, this is the only horse Spendthrift has with Jenna Antonucci too. I was kind of looking into that. I did not use either of these horses. I'm not going to fault you for the 2, but the 9 at 9-5. Mike, this horse has never been lower than 11-1, and you're taking 9-5 with an outside post draw. I mean, woof. Woof. And this horse, by the way, those 2 turf races, just kind of runs in place. I know she advanced a little bit on the Chad Brown winner last out, but she still didn't look like she had a lot of that kick. She just kind of runs around.
This is a significantly easier field than either of those 2 turf races.
Wow, I hope so, boy.
I mean, I think this is we always talk about New York coming down to Florida. This is a big time drop off in my mind. This spot for the 9. So I think you're getting a huge class relief. I like the fact that you had the riders that have ridden her. You've got both Ortizes that have ridden her. Now you're getting Saez. I mean, the horse clearly has talent. I think it's just finding the right field here. And then join the dots. The horse that won 3 back came back and won a stakes race. So the fields that this horse faced have been actually pretty solid in my mind. So I think we're just getting a lot softer spot. That's why I'm winning it solid.
I also won't forget her for losing to Lady Valentine 2 back. It's a horse I own through my racehorse who's just terrible. She broke her maiden at Parks for like a maiden special weight 25, and they promptly retired her and sold her because they knew that's as good as it was going to get. Anyways, my top pick here, you and I agreed on 2, so we'll get to those in a second. My top pick is not one of them. It's going to be the 7 Blue Twirlin at 7-2 for Mark Casse. This horse is taking the class drops, maiden special weight to maiden claimer for Casse. It's 14%, not a huge angle, but I like the fact that we're putting the horse back on turf. Mark Casse got the horse's first 2 starts, both over this course. One of them came to the championship meet, and then the horse stuck around for a bit. The runner-up 2 back, Starship Enterprise, ended up becoming a turf stakes winner, so was facing better horses earlier in the year. I think this could be a likely pace setter if this horse could get loose. Rafi Hernandez and Mark Casse are very well known for teaming up successfully at Woodbine. Let's see if they can do it at Gulfstream. They're 1 for 2 so far at the meet. So I'm going to use Blue Twirlin. And then my second choice is one of the ones we used. I'll kick it over to you. Ellie Gray, the 3 horse, is 6-1. We got a new shooter. That was my big angle.
Yeah, definitely new shooter helps. Frosted, very good first time out sire, so excited about that. Fox, 12% first out, but 2 for 5 going over a mile with a $21.44 ROI. Ridiculous ROI. That was only 5 sample size, but I like the fact that Jaramillo takes them out as well. To me, this is one of those signs that that Fox likes this horse. 88 starts with Jaramillo at Gulfstream Park, 25% over the last 2 years. Jaramillo, a Sen jockey. I think that we're going to see this horse more forwardly placed. It's just one of those interesting spots. Right? I think getting 6-1 is pretty good in a race where I don't love anyone. I was back and forth on your 7. I did end up using the 7 as my last horse in here. So we agree on that horse. And it's because I think that horse is the speed. I'm a little concerned that we're not going to see that horse isn't going to make the lead. And if the 7 doesn't make the lead, the 7 has only passed 1 horse in his career. That's not generally the type of horse you want that's not on the pace. So, it's another one of those horses where I'm a little concerned about the 7 at the price of 7-2, but I agree it's a class drop. You got the speed against better. I mean, everything about the 7s should be systems go. So I ended up 4 deep here, went 2-3-7-9.
Sorry, I was looking at last race's ticket on that one. Yeah, he passed 1 horse, but only because that horse quit harder than this one did. Because you see the gap to the winner went from 3 to 6 1/4. That means somebody just had a bigger anchor than that horse did.
That is correct.
So the other 2 horses I used, and they were the last 2 for my ticket, so I don't feel that bad that we didn't agree on them. I'll go with the 5 Chicaboom 9-2. Slight class drop, and I say slight because it was Tampa made special weight that we faced last out, but stays on the turf. Paco's going to get aboard. Is 2 for 7 with the trainer Ruben Gracida. Needs a clean break, but could be forwardly placed and get first run on the leaders, which includes the 7 horse here. So I like that the horse has the tactical speed. Again, needs that clean break. Paco's aggressive handling. And then I also use the 8, 12 o'clock Rock at 6-1. This is my last horse on. But I like that we're back on turf where the first 2 starts came for Mike Trombetta, who at Laurel or in the Maryland circuit is one of the top trainers there. So that's why you see that the horse was pretty well backed. Adds blinkers now, which is a 16% angle. We're second off of a break, which is 22%. I love that Tyler Gaffleon's getting aboard. That was a trend earlier with another race. I love that Tyler Gaffleon's going to be riding this horse. So I went 5-8 with the bottom 2, but I definitely agree with Mike that 7 and 3 you want to use here.
Yeah, 5 is just had too many opportunities for me, and then not being able to run very well over at Tampa is never something that's a good sign when you're going from Tampa to Gulfstream, even though you are dropping in class. The 8 I thought was a little interesting. I don't blame you for using it. Interesting we're getting back on the turf here, and Trombetta is much better than that current percentage, so I don't hate that. Use it 6-1.
That's going to do it for this episode of the Magic Mike Show. Thanks for joining Mike. And I go through Wednesday's late pick 4 at Gulfstream. If you're watching live or the replay, thanks for joining us. Take a look below. We've got our tickets up here. Mike, I'll go first. I'm going to go 3-4-6 with 1-2 with 5-6-8 with 3-5-7-8 for 50 cents. That's $36. Your ticket, please.
I'm going to play 50-cent ticket as well. I'm going to go 2-3 with 2-5-8 with 1-2-3-8 with 2-3-7-9 for 50 cents. It'll cost you $48.
And somehow there is a way that you and I can connect together on this ticket for not that. Let's see, we got one leg, we got one in the first, one in the second,
So
one in the third, and 2 in the last. Okay.
3-2-8, 3-2-8-7 maybe 3-2-8-3.
Yeah, I like it. We'll get it home. Whichever has the better price there. Probably with the 3-horse. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. I know the weekend was a little slow, so we want to try and do something a little different, but I don't want to go completely away from it because we did have a Kentucky Oaks prep and then another horse who looked like a Kentucky Oaks threat in a Dari Manor win. But did you have any thoughts on the horse racing weekend at large you wanted to share, or are you just ready to talk about football?
I mean, honestly, the biggest story out of horse racing broke, 30 minutes before we came on?
That was sweet.
Kentucky Derby Media pretty much doubled down and said, screw you, Bob Baffert. And so it's going to be interesting. I mean, you and Aaron recorded a video that I thought was interesting about the Baffert and really the 3 possible options, which is skip the Derby, new trainer, Baffert sues. I still think we're going to see litigation from the camp of the Baffert camp.
Definitely sounds like it now.
That's been his move, and it seems like I wouldn't be shocked if they said something to Churchill, and that's what prompted that tweet for them to say, hey, we're going to try and stand our ground. But I would be surprised if we don't see some legal action from Bob Baffert in the very near future here. But, man, you could also kind of see this. You remember when, the Patriots and Randy Moss went on the FU tour and they set new records and put up a bunch of they threw my touchdowns? We could kind of see a Bob Baffert FU tour toward the Derby. It would be really interesting if he does go balls to the wall and try and take as many Derby points away from people as possible. And you have these horses with 10 points qualifying for the Derby because Baffert's won a bunch of 100-point races and gotten 0 points for them. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But yeah, this is the tweet here from CDI saying that they're committed to protecting the integrity and the future of the horse racing industry. No one is above the rules, including Mr. Baffert. We remain intent on holding him accountable for his actions. It sounds like something's coming, right? I mean, it sounds like something's coming down the pipe here from the Baffert camp. And I'm not surprised because if this is CDI's stance, which good for CDI, I'm glad this is their stance. It's the correct stance to have. Appreciate them having that stance and taking it to them. That probably means that you're going to see something from Baffert here in the near term.
And it seemed like it was in response to the Joe Drape story in the New York Times about Churchill Downs and their fight with Baffert. And I read it. And Joe Drape, I'm not always a fan of because I'm not always a fan of his takes with horse racing. But I thought he did a great job in this story. So go check that out. Racing Dudes retweeted. I think I retweeted it too. So definitely great. And by the way, you brought up Bob Baffert going on the FU tour. Since the meet started, last 12 starters, 8 wins, 2 seconds for Baffert. I mean, and it doesn't matter if it's actually been mostly Velasquez. Baffert's only been in for 2 of those wins now. I think Pratt and Baffert are 2 for 5 together. It's mostly Johnny V. If you see Johnny V in a Baffert horse, play it.
I would love to know how. So 4 of those horses have lost. I bet at least 3 of them have lost to another Baffert horse too. Because there's a bet. I know for
Rockefeller.
Yeah, I mean, I can think of 2 stakes races where he had 2 horses. So right there you go. Right. So yeah, we'll see what happens with this. It's be interesting to kind of keep an eye on it. But yeah, to me, this was the biggest news of the weekend. Is that Churchill Downs plans to play hardball, which again, good for Churchill Downs. They should, and we'll see what how the Baffert camp responds to it.
Yeah, it's well. Listen, you brought up the video that Aaron and I did. Thanks for bringing that up. It's on YouTube.com/RacingDudes. Very easy to find. Go to the Kentucky Derby playlist if you're having any trouble. But yeah, we were both like, well, suing is an option, and then this happens, and we're like, suing's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Lawsuit incoming. You know what's also incoming tonight is.
Real quick,
oh wait, nope. There you go.
I think this is interesting from Joshua. Just one question, guys. Do you think Bob is good or bad for the sport? I think he was good for the sport. And now he is bad for the sport. I think that the narrative got flipped when you tested positive in all of the grade 1s last year that he tested positive in in Arkansas, and then what happened at the Derby, right? And it's just you can't have this much smoke, right? And when you do have this much smoke, and then things happen, the magnifying glass just gets shown down on the horse racing industry like an ant in the sun, and it's a terrible look, terrible situation. And then you have what happened with Medina's Spirit and the horses that have died under his care and everything else that just continues to give the sport black eyes. And so, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when the microscope wasn't as bright, he probably was good for the sport. It probably was good to have this person out there who was having a bunch of success and training in California and having that California juxtaposition to the New York and the Kentucky circuits. Now I would say undoubtedly he is bad for the sport, because you don't see any positive news stories about horse racing in the general media, and on CNN, on Fox News, on ESPN, on any NBC Sports, even, who has horses all the time, has tough time putting positive stories out there. So it's just become a black eye in a lot of ways.
Yeah, you said it perfectly. I will agree with you and leave it that you said it perfectly. I don't really have much to add there, other than at this point he's a net negative. And I was so angry when they had his impromptu press conference after the Medina Spirit news broke in front of his barn. I was so angry for that whole thing, because I thought everybody was still kissing his ass. But I wanted to, because at one point he was like, well, I don't know, it's getting kind of hard, and it's, the people are questioning if I'm still good. And I wanted to be like, do you think you're still, because I want to ask him point blank, to his face, do you think you're still good for the game? His ego will say yes, but I would love to put him on the spot for that. But
just real quick, one more anecdote. I actually have met Bob Baffert, and I actually had a horse with him at one point. And I did not, at that time, I was not as involved in the horse racing side. It was very casual for me. It was something where I love going to the racetrack, but I don't follow it on a day-to-day basis. And I didn't necessarily know how he trained or what he did to kind of get through or break through with these horses. And I saw him the day after. So he had a horse running in a turf sprint, a maiden claimer in California, the day after he won the Breeders' Cup Classic. And I remember meeting him, remember shaking his hand. And as someone who is a casual person in the sport, I thought it was cool. I was excited about meeting Bob Baffert. And to me, that's a positive for the sport, right? But then, now I would never, if I owned horses still, I would never, ever have a horse in his care. I would and to me, it's just, Anyway, it's interesting because, even as someone who was a fan of the sport, I fell for it, right? So you learn, you live, and you change.
Yeah, he was the reason he became a big star, became the media darling in the face of the sport. He's very
he's charismatic.
Very charismatic. Thanks. That's the word I was trying to find. The first few times I met him, hanging around when he stood at Clocker's Corner in the morning and hanging around. The guy's just constantly, and he's such sharp-witted. It sucks because the guy is he's really fun. There's parts of him that are really great, but man, there's just that asshole side of him that you just can't get past. Josh mentioned his lawsuit with his win against Naira. So what happened with this is that Naira banned him, and Baffert sued to get the ban removed, and the judge said, okay, there's an injunction, but they're still allowed to have a hearing. Baffert wanted to dismiss completely, and the judge said, no, they just jumped the gun. They have to hold a hearing. So there's a hearing coming up. I think this month, Mike? I want to say it's actually coming up really soon, where they'll actually go before a third party, and the third party will say, can Naira ban him because of what happened in the Derby? And if they say yes, that's going to be huge for the sport, because that means anybody can do it anywhere.
It will be interesting. Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting, and I don't know if that means that anyone could do it anywhere, because the laws in horse racing are so effed up that everywhere you go, the rules are completely different. It's one of the biggest issues with the sport right now.
They like to honor I guess what I was thinking is they like to honor jurisdiction. So so Irag gets banned for a month in Gulfstream. He can't come hide at Santa Anita for a month. So, but Baffert does love to hide at Santa Anita. But hey, let's move on. I want to talk about something fun and get this taste out of my mouth here. It was important to bring up. I'm glad thank you for asking that question. I'm glad we talked about it. Never shy away from asking questions, but I do want to talk real quick. The national championship game tonight. Mike, I locked in Alabama plus 3.5. I don't know what the line is now. I feel like Alabama's going to roll tonight. What are your thoughts, Alabama, Georgia?
Man, it's interesting. It's back to 3 right now, juice to minus 120 on the plus 3. So you got the 3.5 when it was available. I tweeted something out right when it went to 3.5. It lasted about 15 minutes, and then everywhere went back to 3 again. So major Bama money came in at 3.5 there. This is a really interesting game. And, the reason I think this is so interesting is you have a wild motivation flip between the SEC title game, where Georgia didn't need to win. They were they were going to make the playoff, win or lose. Alabama had to win that game to make the playoff, right? So you have a massive motivation flip there. Now you have this championship game, and I'm not going to say Georgia didn't get up for the SEC game, championship game. They were clearly up for that. I'm not going to make that argument. But you're going to see a much more motivated Georgia team tonight. I think you're going to get Georgia's best effort for Alabama. I didn't love how Bama looked against Cincinnati. I think that the Meeks injury is a big thing. Here's the thing. Georgia was a 7-point favorite in the SEC title game. not that much has changed except that Alabama lost their number 1 wide receiver, and now that they're only a 3-point favorite. So either the market was way off, which totally could be correct, or the line is way off now. And so it's one of those where it's A or B. I'm not really sure which it is. My eyes told me Alabama is way more athletic and way better in that SEC title game. I would take the points over not playing the game. If I'm going to bet the game, I'm going to take the points. I'm probably going to play Alabama money line, to be honest with you, because I think that the likelihood that Georgia wins by 3 is actually pretty low. I think either Bama wins rather easily or Georgia wins rather easily. I don't think you're going to see that close of a game. So I would rather play Bama money line. I think that's probably the direction I'm going to lean. I kind of like the over, which is surprising in this spot. It's 52 right now. But I kind of lean toward the over because I think that if Bama starts to score, Georgia has to open it up. And it didn't look like Georgia could stop Bama that much in the SEC title game. So I wouldn't be shocked if you see not a shootout, but if you see something in the, let's say 35, 32 range, 30, somewhere around there.
What are the chances, just play devil's advocate because I didn't watch the game, what are the chances that Bama was fairly confident they were going to whoop Cincinnati? But probably I think a lot of people bettors were, and they just said we'll just do what we need to, and they weren't 100% because they pretty much were like we're rematching Georgia, and they were almost already past the game. How likely is that, even though it was the semifinals for the playoffs?
Maybe 5% chance. The thing is, and the reason why I consistently, and I tweeted out before first half, Bama first half, bet it in that Cincinnati game. The reason why Bama first half is so good is because Saban is good at rolling teams in the first half. And the fact that it took a little while to get rolling against Cincinnati, and specifically it was the pass rush of Cincinnati that was getting to Bryce Young, Bama's quarterback. And we didn't see that pass rush in the first game. I mean, he was scrambling around a little bit, but we didn't see Georgia absolutely attacking him the way Cincinnati did. If we see Georgia come after him and they have a little bit better luck up front in this game and they're able to get consistent pressure on Bryce Young, that's what changes this. That's what flips this. Bryce Young had a epic game in that SEC title game. Threw for over 400 yards. It by far the most anyone's thrown against that Georgia defense before. And it was because of the lack of pressure up front with the front four. If they're able to get that pressure, and Georgia has the horses to get it, then that is what could flip this game. And that's what I didn't like, is that Cincinnati was able to get Bryce Young off his spot. He had to scramble. He had to move. He made a couple bad throws because he was on the move. That to me is what could flip this game.
Over at racenews.com/sports, you can get Papa Dude's full in-depth coverage of this, and I was breezing through the article. I love when he breaks down big games like this, and he says, who's got the advantage at quarterback? Who's got the advantage? It's positional breakdowns, and he uses that to help him decide where he went. So if you want to figure out where he goes here, take a look, racenews.com/sports. Papa Dude has been really great with the college football. And you know what else has been great all college football season long, Mike, as we wrap up here, is the Dudes Who Bet Sports. And they're doing something special tonight in 2 hours. So starting at 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern, they're going to be doing a live stream of the national championship game. So I'm trying to get to load on my computer. Maybe it'll load before we get out of here. But they are going to be covering this. So like if you want to watch the national championship game, say you're like me where you don't really care about the announcers that much or what's going on, but you want to have a great time and be entertained, this is the one to watch because these guys I know will be cursing and yelling. Aaron, I'm sure will be drinking. He was drinking when we did those 7 videos earlier today, so I'm sure he's going to keep the party going in this spot. So definitely tune into this one. Like I mentioned, that's going to be coming on at 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern.
Very cool. Yeah, that'll be a blast, man. I'm mad at Aaron I didn't get invited.
Well, it is the fans. If you've been watching the Dudes Who Bet Sports, the fans, myself included, have been calling for this for all year long. Because when Papa Dude gets heated about something and goes off on a rant, it's just gone. He's gone, and then Papa Dude keeps going with him. And Aaron knows how to press the buttons on Papa Dude to get him angry. So that's why we want to do it. I haven't actually heard from Aaron. I'm surprised he hasn't shown up in the background of our show. Maybe it's because he's already hammered.
Yeah, I would assume that's why.
Any final thoughts we got out here, Mike?
No. Sam Houston was fun the first couple days. A couple crazy odds changes. One of the things that was still yes, the horses dropped huge in the odds of the gate, but the multi races still paid out big time for those horses, which to me was kind of one of those keys. So if you liked them before the race, you had live and multis, they still paid out, which was nice. And some good will pays, man. The money back on those days were huge every day. So pick threes especially coming back huge. So looking forward to more Sam Houston this week. Looking forward to Gulfstream getting going, getting that Aqueduct back. We've been all over it there. So yeah, having fun with horse racing. Looking forward to it. And then we got the playoffs in the NFL too. It'll be fun next weekend.
Yep, that's happening. College basketball is ramping up. March Madness is getting closer. The NBA is starting to ramp up if you care about that. But as Michael Myers says, don't forget to take your betting dollars to Sam Houston. And Michael, shout out to you because Michael, I saw on Twitter, was calling out the all of the odds changes, those late plummets. People were messaging me saying, hey, your friend Michael has been calling out these odds changes on Twitter. So congrats to you for being sharp on that. Congratulations to you, the listener/viewer, for tuning into the best show about covering horse racing, the Magic Mike Show. We'll be back on Thursday with another sequence to cover. Until then, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Follow us on Twitter at Curtis Kalleward, at Somobomb18, at Racing_Dudes. See you Thursday.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.